This is Talk Business and Politics with Roby Brock.
Welcome to the program. Joining me now, John Brummett, columnist with the Arkansas Democrat-Gazette. Good to get the week off to a good start with you as always. Thanks for being with us.
Always a pleasure.
John, let's begin with the legislature came to town last week in an incredibly efficient way. They got their business done in 3 days, basically. There was no drama on the abortion front. There was no drama on the teacher pay front. For different factions, that's not a good thing. But give me your assessment of why that session went so smoothly, and is that a good thing that it went as smooth as it did?
Well, I don't want to say it's a good thing that it went as smooth as it did when some groups, teachers, advocacy groups, and Democratic legislators had made an excellent case, and the governor of the state had made an excellent case for a special upgrade in teacher pay, which could have been done without a great deal of trouble, it would seem to me. But that got mired in politics. Republicans were convinced, Republican leadership was convinced that this was just a Democratic political ploy. If they went along with it or let them have a vote, they'd just be playing into their hands, and that it's not going to affect the elections in the fall, and they can deal with it next year. So it just never was going to happen. That aside, whenever the legislature can come to town and do assigned tasks efficiently, even those I disagree with, as I did on the tax cut, without getting into any of the culture war, falderall, or other political distraction, that's good. And it's the way we've always seemed to want our legislative sessions to go. Well, at least the way BB liked them and the way Governor Hutchinson also likes them. In and out, no distraction, get the work done, have consensus in advance. That was the case here. And the Republican leadership simply decided not even to let the Democrats have make a motion, just to move to go home, and that's move to go home sort of reflected that there were a few Republicans, willing to go along with the Democrats on the teacher pay, but not nearly enough. So I would say no harm, no foul, even though we take that much money out of the ongoing state budget with a possible recession looming. Possible harm deferred, but otherwise good to get them in and out. You know what I mean?
I understand completely. So just for people who might not be full-time students of the Arkansas legislature, what they do is they kind of have it, the leadership has it set up in advance to recognize someone to adjourn the session before they would recognize someone to try to add things onto the agenda of a special session. We saw this in an earlier special session.
Yeah, it's an efficient way to do it. It's a preemptive way to do it. It's the way the leadership can do it. And in this case, I heard from several of the higher ups in the legislative leadership, we're just not going to let the Democrats play politics with this issue. Well, politics not always bad. Teacher pay would be good, but that's an entirely separate argument. And they just cut it off, and it's like they cut off the Democrats' microphone because they didn't want to let them have it. And that's the way it goes.
Well, that'll be something for the Democrats to rally around in the fall in some of the fall elections here. We'll see how
we shall see. I'm sure we'll hear about it from them.
We have learned over the weekend that there will be a debate on the AETN. We think there will be a debate between Sarah Huckabee Sanders and Chris Jones and Libertarian Ricky Dale Harrington in the governor's race. It may be the only debate that we have. What will we learn from that debate? And what do you make of the format of that debate in terms of its ability to get some information out there from the candidates?
Well, that's a broad question, and to begin, I hesitate to be critical of public television or any attempt at public dialogue and voter accountability. I would begin with this point. The AETN debates or Arkansas PBS debates historically have been good tries, and thank you for doing it and bringing candidates not just for governor and Senate, but other offices together and putting on a series of debates and televising them. But they've historically been widely unwatched, and the format has been cumbersome and ineffective. You get local journalists brought in as panelists. They come in with predetermined questions. They bring in the off-brand candidates, as I call them, to deflect attention and divert attention from the two main combatants. That reduces the number of questions. The format doesn't permit a lot of interplay among the candidates. The questions tend to be disjointed. There's no follow-up. The one that I remember is Clark Tucker, French Hill, and another candidate debating in 2018, and a healthcare issue never came up. And there are times when I've watched these debates and I wish that there was a little more fluidity and spontaneity in the panel so that somebody could forego their intended question and do a follow-up. So it's a safe one for a front runner, as Sarah Huckabee Sanders is. However, I don't think this is done. And I think Sanders is being tactical about it to an extent. She's getting out there before AETN had announced the debate and before Chris Jones had been told of the date and said, well, I'm going to do it on this date. And that's all. But I'm told by Chris Jones's press spokesman, we don't have a format yet. We don't know what the format's going to be. So she's out there. She's done it. She's checked that box. And it's on Jones to go along with what will be a cumbersome incumbent or favorite front-runner protective format, or she can say, well, he's just not going to go along. She's playing it. She is a political operative. She's not a policy guru. She knows how to play these things, and her campaign knows how to do it. And I assume it will happen. Jones is not going to get in a position probably of passing on it, but I assume it will happen. It'll be over an hour's time with the Libertarian candidate there. There may be 6 questions. They're liable to be disjointed. Everybody will get their message. Jones will try to make an impression, but he'll have limited time. And Sarah Huckabee will say the standard. We got to fight these federal government. We got to stand up to them. We're going to do teacher raises, but we're going to have to stop teaching this critical race theory. We need to have school choice. And she'll say, we're going to cut taxes. We're going to phase out the income tax, but we're going to do it responsibly by starting with waste, fraud, and abuse, except any waste, fraud, and abuse that the Republicans have anything to do with. And it'll likely be what I'll call, and we'll call in a column tomorrow, a box checking exercise for her. That's the way I sort of look forward to it. I hope the format is more fluid, better, and this will be Jones's only chance for a direct comparison, probably, to show what he can do. And I think he's got some skills. So I hope my usual pessimism is wrong on that.
Your usual pessimism. Well, Arkansas PBS ought to get some decent ratings off of it being the only time you might see them square off in debate.
By the way, other people have suggested joint appearances. An official of Channel 7 has put an open-ended offer to let's talk about one in September on KATV, I guess. And Jones said sure, and we get not resistance, just sort of ignoring from Sarah Sanders. I think she wants to do this one and say I've done it. I think she wants to do it by the usual format. I think if it breaks down, it's not her fault. I think that's the way. I think that's what it comes down to. But good for Arkansas PBS for having them. Hope people watch, and I hope they prove productive. The session proves productive in some ways.
All right. Lastly, Sarah Huckabee Sanders' former boss, former President Donald Trump, making a lot of news over the last week. The FBI raids his Mar-a-Lago compound. We've seen shifting narratives, defenses, storylines throughout the course of the week. This thing is like a tornado, a reminder of what we experienced on almost a daily news cycle in the Trump administration. Kind of synthesize everything for me and boil this down. What is this all about?
I'm hesitating. I'm synthesizing live and in person here. Let's see. Here it is. Donald Trump was, to understate, irregular as president. He was, by wide acceptance, inappropriate and more than unconventional, conceivably dangerous as president. And what this comes down to, never mind all of the protests that are troubling and the division in the country, is that Trump left the White House with documents he shouldn't have taken, which need to be under government care. And then when that was found out, he said, here they are. And they weren't, that wasn't all of them. And more were found. And eventually a very circumspect attorney general, a man until a few days ago, the Democratic activists were saying is too timid, made the decision to seek the warrant, got a judge to approve it. And they had an organized search of his home and got up and turned up more documents. That is worthy of a search warrant. That is worthy of an investigation. It is a serious matter. It could lead to charges. It could not. But we need to think about the central thing. A president left and kept in his personal possession things that he should not have. And he did not turn them all over when he could have. Now, politically, I'll just synthesize it this way. Within moments of the news of this raid, I was getting emails, texts from political persons with whom I communicate saying they better have him this time. That's what people are saying. Like the Democrats, the justice people, authorities, grand juries, prosecutors in various states, that's all we've heard. The Mueller report was nothing. They impeached a guy who was leaving office anyway. They impeached him another time and didn't deliver. They said the Russia collusion. He gets away with everything. If this comes to nothing, he is probably certainly politically benefited by it, and a greater prospect, I would say threat, to return to the White House. And that's what people of all persuasions were saying. This better amount to something this time. I think we're seeing from that it does, but I don't know what goes on. I don't know what goes from here. I don't know if he gets charged, and I don't know if that further divides the country. I just know that the stakes are bigger on this one. This one, when you go in, albeit somewhat discreetly as federal raids go, and do that in a former president's home, it's big. It's seminal. It's more than sitting around speculating about the Mueller report. So. And the other synthesis, this is a big synthesis, but this country is perilous, in a perilous condition. We've got people out there who basically want to declare civil war against the federal government and its justice system, and using this as an excuse. And Asa Hutchinson goes on State of the Union on CNN yesterday and says, let's support law enforcement. Let's not attack the FBI. And that's considered a brave thing in the contemporary Republican Party, to say, let's support law enforcement. So we got a tinderbox. We have a seminal moment. That's the best synthesis I can give you.
A lot of people with matches. Let's hope that they don't strike them. So, all right.
Yep.
He's John Brummett. He's columnist with the Arkansas Democrat Gazette. Always great to get your take. Thanks for being with us.
Roby, always a pleasure. See you next time. Bye.